And hey, everybody, welcome to Bonus Stuff. We just got done reviewing Mickey 17, so go check it out. So,
How is that song not in it? I forgot to say that
oh,
in
yeah,
mine.
I forgot to ask you there. Was Mickey in it? So, I
No.
guess not.
You're so fine.
Um, so, there, we have to talk about Daredevil, Born Again, because it did come out on Disney Plus, and a lot of people were excited for it because they love the Netflix series. So we're going to talk about the first two episodes. The first one was called, what's it called? Heaven's Half Hour, I believe it was called. And yeah, Heaven's Half Hour. And the second episode was called Optics. So these kind of blend together right now for me. So
Same.
we'll kind of talk about the whole thing at once. So Matt Murdock and crew are back, Foggy and Karen, and we see them, and they have their own practice now, as they were going to do in season 3. Has anyone seen the Daredevil Netflix series in a while? It's been a long time for
Long
me.
time.
Yeah.
And I feel like
So,
this opening banked on you having seen it recently.
yeah. So we get them, and they're going to the bar after work. We get introduced to two random characters that we don't know yet, and then we get to hear their story for some reason. Foggy is trying his best to flirt with this girl, and all of a sudden, Foggy has to take a phone call. He goes outside, and he's talking to one of his clients, and he's like, "Stay there, don't move. I'll come get you." And Matt's like, "What's going on?" Because he can hear him outside the door. Him and Karen were kind of flirty, kind of thinking about it. Um, and so Matt goes outside and he's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I didn't want to tell." Foggy's like, "I didn't want to get you involved, but it's time to Daredevil time." So we get Matt suits up and he heads out towards Foggy's client. But before he can get there, spoiler, we're going to go into major spoilers. I'm sure everybody knows by the time they watch this what happened, but just a warning, spoilers. Foggy is shot, like right through the heart. And it is bullseye. Um, try to remember him from season 3. He was kind of getting worked on in the hospital and stuff like that. And so he's back. He's the one who shot Foggy. Daredevil rushes back to fight him. We get the fight scene that I'm pretty sure they were hoping was the sets everyone would go, "Oh, mind blowing! This was so amazing!" It as Michael's face, you could tell, didn't quite go that way. So that's it. Well, they fight, and it ends with Daredevil pushing Bullseye off a building.
I did like that part. He just goes
I
like,
I did love
yeah.
that part. He just kind of pushes him. um, and so it looks like he killed him, but as we fade out, he kind of gets up and it's like still alive. So some time passes. Turns out Bullseye, like I said, is alive. He's on trial. Matt speaks at the court, tries to get him the maximum punishment. They give him like 2 life sentences, I think it is, and not exactly what Matt wanted. I think they were trying to go for, an execution, but we even more time passes. Karen leaves for San Francisco. Matt is working with the girl that Foggy was flirting with, so she's teamed up with him. He also has hired one of the detectives that we met at the beginning scene as his kind of, the guy that all lawyers have, the guy that does the footwork, gets
Kind of like,
evidence and stuff like that.
kind of like a mic.
Yeah. So he's got that guy. And we also learned that Wilson Fisk is back. He has returned after some time off, I guess, after Echo, after what happened in Echo. They kind of laughed that off in the series. Um, but Fisk is back and he wants to run for mayor. While he was gone, his wife had taken over his organization. And, she's a powerful woman who does better jobs than men. So she's very successful at it. But so she's going to fund his mayoral run. And it happens very quickly in the first episode. He decides to run, and then there's he's on the news a little bit, and then he wins. So Matt is like, oh shoot. Matt is also introduced to a therapist, set up on a blind date. That's funny. But so he he and this woman start to get to know each other. He kind of likes her, and they start dating. Her name's Heather. And then other
That's
characters.
about all we like get in that episode, by the way, Jared. It's just like, oh yeah, Heather dating.
Yeah, there's like no like setup to the, like chemistry explosion.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's just they're together now. They had a terrible coffee date, but a great dinner date. That's what we're told. And there's another character we're introduced. This character's name is BB. She's kind of
That's Ben Ulrich's daughter, right?
yeah, is it a daughter or niece? I can't remember. I think it's a niece,
Something
maybe?
like that.
I
It's
think
the guy that
related.
Karen was working for in season 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's kind of what would you call her? She's like a YouTube.
Street reporter.
Yeah. She's she's independent. She doesn't work for an organization or anything.
New media journalist.
Yeah, so she goes around and she's kind of responsible for putting Fisk on the map, because she took him seriously and she videotaped all his stuff. So she kind of made him famous and got him elected. There's also James Gandolfini's son is in this. He is like he's Fisk's supporter. He thinks he's so rad.
That guy. Okay.
Yeah.
That's his son?
Weird.
That's his son, yeah. So he thinks he's like super rad that he's running for mayor, and he's like he's stoked. That's what he keeps saying. I'm super stoked. So he's a new character. Second episode deals with the fallout of him getting elected. Matt takes on a new client, which is the White Tiger. I can't remember the character's actual name.
I
But
forgot
it's
his name.
yeah, it's the White Tiger, who is a Marvel comic character who it's kind of amazing that they use the mystical element of him. I did not expect that. I thought that he would just be a vigilante, but
Be real, yeah.
yeah, he does have a amulet that has like magic powers, gives him powers and stuff like that. So he's the original White Tiger. He gets in trouble when he sees two people shaking down a guy, and he thinks like they're trying to rob him. So he fights them, and they're like, "No, get out of here! This doesn't involve you." And one ends up dying. Turns out those guys were cops. Undercover, but they didn't identify themselves. So one accidentally get killed. So he's arrested, and Matt takes on his case. Meanwhile, Wilson Fisk is doing the mayor stuff. He fills in a pothole so everyone likes him. He's dealing with the chief of police who doesn't like him, and he's gonna like leave and take all his cops with him. So he's got to deal with that. He's got wife problems. They need therapy. So what do you know? It's Matt's therapy girlfriend who, therapists usually
Have a specialty?
specialize on one thing. For some reason, he's taking everything on. I don't think that's how it works, but and then we have the big part of this episode is Matt and Wilson Fisk meeting each other and talking, and they kind of talk about how they each have a secret and they're each trying to change their ways, and as long as they keep on the path of goodness, they can respect each other, and they kind of come to a truce. And then this episode ends with Matt. He needs to find a witness to the crime who can clear White Tiger, and he does. So he goes up to the apartment where this guy lives, but then the cops come, and it's that cop that his partner died. So he come and they're gonna kill the witness. So Matt gets him out of there, but Matt stays behind. He's like, "Hey, I'm a lawyer. Don't hurt. You can't do anything." But they attack him, and so he has to kind of use his abilities to get out of there. And I'm pretty sure it looks like he killed these
Oh
guys.
yeah.
Necks were breaking and stuff like that. Yeah, and he was super angry at what he did, and that's where it ends off. So that is what happened in Daredevil, the first 2 episodes of Born Again. This has been super mixed reactions because some people are loving it. They're like, "This is just the Netflix show again. This is the best stuff that Disney Plus has ever done." And other people are like, "Uh-oh, there's some red flags in this one." So we're gonna get to that.
The
And
fact that you said that this is the best thing Disney Plus has done is like
that's not saying much.
a case could be made for that. I will say that.
But yeah, so I think the biggest red flag was that first. You could see Michael kind of cringe when I brought up that first scene, and it was supposed to set up stuff because it's an action scene, but it looks very bad. The CG looks bad. It's scary how close it looked to a CW show to me. I was
Oh,
like,
that's never
"Ooh."
good.
Yeah.
Well, so I was talking to Alex about this. He's just like, I don't understand why they decided to CGI some of the movements. Like they were like fighting on top of like they were just like fighting, like bam, 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 bam. But they like CGI'd some of the movements. He's like, why would they do that? Just have them fight. Like be like the first season. Like that hallway fight scene was just people like moving naturally. This like Jared, like he does a Spider-Man like
Oh, you don't have to explain. But Disney's always like, oh, if we can use CG, we'll use it.
it looked like the Ben Affleck like swinging in type thing.
Yeah.
That's how bad it looked. I was just like,
Yeah,
this is taking a turn that I do not like.
it was super concerning. Because this was supposed to set it up, and
Because
it had a good idea. I'll
Yeah,
say.
it was like a 20-minute take, Jared, like a oneer, which
Mhm.
in concept that fits with the rest of Daredevil because it has each season has that one scene with like a long fight, but it was so enhanced by the CGI. I'm just like when the first smoke grenade went off, I was like, oh no.
And it should be good because there's like it's not focusing on them fighting. There's all kinds of like stuff going on in the background, and then it tightens up when they like go up to the stairs, and then it's just them two fighting. And that part's actually I actually like how they use Bullseye's abilities.
His deflection thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when he like
Well,
throws the pool
when you
balls.
when you see Matt like riddled with knives too, I was like, oh damn, yeah,
And
that looks like that would hurt.
and he like throws some billiard balls like at the wall and it bounces and smacks like a lady in the head. I
That
was
poor
like,
lady.
like, that was freaking awesome. But yeah, it's just so ruined by the CG. But yeah,
Michael,
guys-
go for
Yeah,
it.
go for it, Michael.
Wait, before Michael goes, did Echo show up?
No,
Echo
No.
does not show up. They just laugh at her.
Yes.
Like, get out of here.
Yeah, so this is where like I was very hyped for this show for sure. I did rewatch this right before we started today because I saw an Instagram interview where he was talking about the two directors were an interview talking with Matt, and they were discussing how they wanted it to feel separate and detached from Daredevil because they wanted to try and capture that feeling of him stepping aside from Daredevil. And I feel like it's very out of order.
Yeah.
Because at this point, you and I said very pointedly what I said at the very beginning about how they treated this as though you had watched the past 3 seasons very recently. Like they think you're in with these characters, you still love these characters, blah blah blah, blah and Foggy's gonna die. And it's like a huge mistake in my opinion. I feel like this whole opener was a huge mistake. It set me off so poorly to what I feel like for the rest of the show, which I will say, episode 1, episode 2. I think episode 2 is way stronger than episode 1. That last scene that Joseph was talking about, where the guys come and knock on the witness's door, that's Daredevil fighting. Like it has an awesome moment where basically he yells at the guy. The guy has no idea who he is, Jared, and he's like, dude, you gotta trust me. These guys are gonna kill you. You need to leave now. He finally goes out the fire escape, and he goes to the door, and the guy's like, open up, this is police. Matt goes, unlocks the door, walks, and stands in the room with his cane in between his arms. It's a very bad A move. Very cool. But I told my cousin Kobe, because he is one that he's loving it very much, but he also just rewatched all 3 seasons right before this. So he's like in the emotion of Foggy, which I didn't get for sure, because I'm like, I didn't barely remember what the heck happened in this show.
Yeah.
But to have, and I told him, I was like, I felt Matt's anger way more, which is supposed to be a year later on. I felt it way more in that apartment than I did that whole 5-10 minute oneer. Like,
Yeah.
that's the anger I felt that should have been put in there. You weren't put in the emotion. You were detached from the emotion, which is what they were trying to play the detachment of, because the whole thing is he's walking away from Daredevil. He's not Daredevil anymore. He's done with it. He's hanging up the horny cowl. And that whole scene isn't Daredevil at all. And it's like we haven't left Daredevil yet. It's like, what are you gotta build us up to the point where we're like, oh, we're done with this. Because like it took me so far out of it being the weird background shots. And yeah, the CG was bad. That isn't even like my biggest problem with it, because he's supposed to be very freaking angry right now. He's supposed to be pissed because Foggy got shot and he just left Foggy. He would have been there and saved him. But the fighting was so showy. It's a very showy scene. There's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the pool balls are cool. It's fun what you see there, but Daredevil's doing flippy kicks. It's not brutal. It's not Batman style Daredevil Netflix show that we know. And that scene in the apartment was like, he smashes the dude into the fridge, drops him, his neck breaks on the ground. Very, very extremely brutal. And it was awesome. I love that scene. But this first scene was just, go ahead.
So this is something that I don't know if you want to pick up on or not, or if you picked up on it or not. The lighting for the second big, fight was very much similar to the original Daredevil fight scenes, where it's kind of like neon, but like kind of gritty, but it looks like it's shot like practically. In that first fight scene, all the lighting is super artificially put in. It's so CGI.
It looks like a set.
It's so flat. There's no dimension to it at all. It's all one like little setup right there. And yeah, when they go into the hallway, into the staircase, then it refocuses and it's better. Yeah. But that first part where they're in the bar and then the front part, it is so flat. There's no like realism to it at all.
Yeah, it looks like definitely on the set of Friends or something.
Yeah.
and that's going off of what is actually a problem through the whole first episode for me, is there's very few real close-ups. Like like in the second episode, it starts off and Matt has the close up behind his ear where he's listening to stuff. The first episode, it's like always out, always wide with everyone and what they're doing. And I'm like, I'm not drawn to the emotion by this. I don't know if you're trying to be withheld the entire episode. I'm like, you had it in the first scene, sure, whatever. I don't think it worked, but I don't understand why that entire first episode is shot like that, where it's basically all drawn out, all like the character things. Even like at the diner, which I think was a good scene with Matt and Fisk, where they're kind of talking like, hey, we know each other. We know where we've been. Watch your toes, because both of us are not going to let the other step out of line here, basically. And
go ahead. Go finish your thought. My bad.
And there's still, even still, it's like, I think it was a good scene and a good shot, but it's still like I felt out of it. I didn't feel close enough to them. Whereas in the second episode, like I said, goes back to his ear. He's hearing, everything's close, everything's tight, everything's more involved. I felt a part of the story in the second episode. There were still goofy things like the pothole. While it works to put in what they wanted, I feel like it could have been a little more creative than him stopping and being the man of the city and filling a pothole. But that's by the by.
So what you're saying is this whole big fight scene happened in the first episode. Was it like the first thing you saw?
Pretty much.
Well, okay. So here's the thing about like the characters for me is that the first like 10 minutes of this show I really liked, because it was the three characters doing what they do at Josie's bar, which I liked. They interact. Karen and Matt are being flirty, which is always fun. You had Foggy striking out with the hot girl, which is even funnier. And then it just decides to like become this other show all of a sudden. And I was just like, no, come back, please. This is what I wanted. I wanted that.
Yeah.
And
that
also
felt very like a Marvel Comics theme, where they're like, here's the old characters that you love. We're going to replace them with new characters.
New characters. Which I hate when they do that. Like, I hate when they do that.
It sounds to me like it should have started with like heavy orchestral strings. And it's just like swelling up. And then you hear a real like distorted guitar. And then it's like, bring me back. And then you start the fight scene and everyone's hyped. They're just hyped, dude. That's what they should have done. But they don't think.
I think Michael was right. You could have put this scene like in the middle of the episode or something, or maybe like the end of it. It feels
like the end of like a season to me. Like it feels like
this is like a cliffhanger. Yeah,
this feels like the culmination of a lot of emotion built up, But it's like we forgot that emotion 10 years ago when the show ended or whatever the heck it was. Like,
Yeah.
we're all so far out of it. This didn't mean what they.
Well,
I feel like I'm sure they were so into it. They're like watching the show, keeping everything fresh in their minds. Like half people don't remember that.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that they introduced this therapist character who's now Matt's romance, I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't feel any chemistry between either of them.
It was painful almost because she did not want to be there. She kept trying to leave,
and we
he's
saw,
like, "No, sit down. We'll have coffee."
And we saw Matt and and Karen be like really like those two actors have great chemistry with each. Like those three do, in fact.
Yeah.
But then we get like shoehorn her, and I'm just like, and then okay, and when he's like on that dinner date with her, I had to like, who is this chick? And I was like, oh, it's the therapist. Why is the therapist here? What's going on?
Did Karen leave in the show?
Yeah,
or
she went to San Francisco.
Oh yeah, that's what you said. Okay.
Which I hope they go in a different route than Born Again, because in Born Again it gets rather dark with Karen.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that.
I hope they don't.
Yeah.
She becomes like a porn star, Michael.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, she's like addicted to drugs.
That doesn't fit that character at all.
No, nobody liked that part. Everybody's like, I hope we skip that part.
I don't know. I think Disney might try. Disney might give that a shot.
They've tried anything else.
But that's what, since we've already kind of done the Born Again like storyline already with like the last season, I was just like, oh, okay, maybe we're doing something a little different. But then they split up the characters. I was like, that's like my favorite part is those three. Well, and then when Punisher comes in too, but it was just the second episode. I think what Michael was saying was the stronger episode. Like it was more focused. It felt more like a Daredevil show. The first one felt like a Disney show, and not in a good way.
And like right at the beginning of I have to mention this. Right at the beginning of the long fight scene, they have the like Daredevil like superhero swing up, stand next to a chimney next to light, and this huge superhero stance, and it just this long zooming in shot where I'm like, this is so Disney. Please stop that. That is not Daredevil in the slightest. That whole shot made me so upset.
Did his costume look worse, or is that just me? Because it didn't look like it fit him very well.
It might be the lighting. I don't know, but it was
because like the first one, it was like very bare bones, very utilitarian. This just looked like it was all padding. Like I'm like, this doesn't look very good. This looks like She-Hulk. Like
Daredevil was just CG for me is why it looked bad. But
maybe that's why. It was just
So we got to talk about Fisk, because Fisk has some good stuff. I like where they're going with the mayor stuff, even though you could tell the first episode was very Trump-esque with the hats.
I would say the reason I give it a bit of a pass is because Fisk does do this in the comics.
Yeah.
He's done it several times. He's like, he was mayor and he was president, that kind of stuff. So I understand where they're going a little bit with it, but
stop with the hats, guys.
it's gonna be the next 4 years of all this, isn't it? Because like we already have to hear it from one side. Do we have to hear it from the other side too? Like, stop.
But I think Wilson's a really good character, so he kind of gets you through that. The only thing I have a problem with is he's still kind of emasculated from his Disney Plus showings where, he got shot in the eye and he was crying about Echo and stuff like that. And that stuff's still kind of there. It still kind of lingers.
Which is so sad because, what's his name? What's the actor? What's his name?
Oh, D'Onofrio.
No idea.
Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah. He can be so scary when he wants to be. And then they just don't let him be scary. Like, I wish they would just like let him go.
In the Netflix show, he is like the best part. I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
You embarrassed me in front of her.
Yeah, and in this, his wife's kind of like trying to be the aggressive one, and
it's all Disney knows, Jill, so that's what they know.
It's really out of character for her.
She was so good in the other two seasons where she was like his support and like his back, like not his backbone, but whenever he had a weak moment, he could rely on her, not her take over.
And they go to couples therapy, and it's just like, ugh, that's so cringy. So I'm hoping though that they rebuild his character, that they find his dark side. They kind of do it with the police chief stuff, where he lets the picture slip and it shows the guy's kid, and he's like, it's kind of a threat.
Oops.
I know,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking. Oh,
It kind of
drop
does
them?
that. He's like, "This is a good Philly steak," and then like the picture's like, but yeah, I hope they fix that. The other giant red flag I had was that last scene. They show the guy's arm, and it's got like the Punisher symbol.
I didn't know what that
And
was.
Marvel hates the Punisher. Marvel Comics, they hate the Punisher so bad that, like in the Ultimate Universe, they just made the Punisher like a 1940s German. I'll say.
So, do you know why they hate him so much?
Because a lot of cops and military use the Punisher's logo.
Because Chris Kyle, American Sniper, adopted that as his personal insignia, and then it's
Yeah.
like all the cops, all army people love that Punisher symbol.
Yeah.
They just
did
can't
like-
stand it.
The one time I did like when they were like when they hated the Punisher was in Civil War, I think, when he meets Cap and he's like,
Yeah.
I hate you. Because he's like, oh, Cap, you're my hero. I love you so much. He's like, you're a loser. That was the one time I was like, that's kind of funny.
But Marvel has been out to destroy the Punisher for
Weird.
the last 20 years, and I'm just afraid that that's what they're going to kind of try to do in the series, but we'll have to see.
He was good in his own series and on Netflix.
Yeah,
And I love what's
Same.
his name as the Punisher.
Yeah.
yeah, he's a good
Paul.
Punisher.
He's
Yeah.
a good Punisher.
And they have a special. They said that they just
Mhm.
kind of announced that they're going to have a Punisher special. So hopefully they don't destroy him, keep destroying him. But
Mhm.
what do you
Maybe
guys...
he was the bad guy all along.
To be fair, have you met Punisher fans? They're kind of douchey.
All right, I guess I'll leave. Fine.
I actually kind of like the Thomas Jane.
I love the Thomas Jane one. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I
When he
think
fights
it'd
the Russian guy.
Yes, it's so good. Like that movie feels like it's comic book goofy, but like in a good way. It feels almost like an R-rated like Spider-Man, Sam Raimi Spider-Man,
Mhm.
where it's like is goofy, but it was still like a good story. I love that movie. Like the Russian fight scene is hilarious. Sorry,
You guys
had to get that out of the way.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to say about Daredevil?
I couldn't help but laugh at the scene where it's Fisk in his office for this time, and he's like, "How old do you think this desk is?" She's like, "What? This desk here. I want to know how old it is and how many people have been here." It's like, you're so weird, man.
Dude, that's the best part of watching Daredevil is just mimicking him.
Him doing weird stuff. It's
Well, I love his hand ticks like
Do you think LaGuardia sat here?
Oh, man.
well, like when he's like walking into the room and like you can see like his hands by his side, like
I miss him being bigger though.
yeah, that was when like Matt's like, you lost some weight,
Yeah.
put on some muscle.
Your foot is lighter, homie.
Huh.
You're Harrison Ford now. What the
I'm done on keto.
I've gotten Ozempic and it's doing wonders.
My skin.
I've done the carnivore diet.
Oh,
So,
Watch us do this show. Like that would be better.
So at one time it was like in the 90s on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, wow.
It's gone down to 83 now. So
I still think it's definitely good. Like it's compared
Better than most Disney stuff.
I still generally think it's good. I think there's just a lot of problems with it that I hope they don't stick around with. I hope
have
it's
to
just
see
episode
more
one.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I've heard is that like the first 5 episodes are kind of the old stuff that they wanted to do. And then the next ones are like the new writer that they brought in.
Interesting.
So it might be jarring the change, but we'll have to see.
How long are the episodes?
An
Yeah,
hour. I was
40s.
surprised it was an hour, but it's an hour.
I will say I'm hopeful because there's still elements of the old stuff there, and when the old stuff does show up, you're like, I like that. Like, that's what I'm here for. But what Joseph was saying is like, this is the highest rated Disney show. I'm just like, okay. I mean, okay. Besides Hawkeye, because Hawkeye's great.
I liked Huck.
that is a great
Hawkeye's good.
show.
Okay,
Except for maybe the end.
But I feel like that's a very self-isolated like show. It doesn't really connect to a lot of other things, which
And
I'm
it
glad.
kind of cheated. It was like Christmas time. You're like, oh.
Yeah,
Just bring in the holly jollies.
but like I'm hopefully I'm cautiously optimistic with
But
this one.
other than that, man, the shows have been pretty bad.
Garbage.
Loki
Garbage.
season
Well,
one was okay.
Wanda started off good,
Yeah,
and
Wanda
then
started off.
it just took
So
a
long
dive.
ago, we were so naive.
I know. Moon Knight was sad because we wanted Moon Knight to be good. And
Yeah.
Dude,
it was
they
terrible.
talk about character murder. Like,
Yeah.
man, you had this like funny, like psychotic Batman character basically, and they made him just this like schizophrenic weirdo.
Yeah, and he's got like a sidekick for some reason, and there's kaiju's fighting. It was awful. It was just like, what the heck?
And then don't get me started about Hawkeye and the Winter Soldier. Or not
Falcon.
Hawkeye. Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon the Winners.
Oh.
Dang, I wanted that to be good because I was like, oh man, this could be like Lethal Weapon. Because Bucky and Falcon were like two of my favorite characters in Civil War, and I was like, man, this is gonna be great. And
When they were just like making fun of each other in that movie,
Yeah,
you're like,
they're
that's
like-
fun.
yeah, I wanted that.
You gotta stop calling them terrorists. It's like
but they blew up.
Just
they
do
blew up.
better. Just do better, Thomas. You just gotta do better.
you, Senator, have to do better. Sir.
it's pretty
But we
bad.
loved Echo. I mean, we had a good time watching Echo. Thomas loved it, man. He was like, yes, more.
Secret Wars. Did anyone watch Secret Wars?
Oh, God, that was terrible.
That was
I
bad.
haven't watched it, but I've heard nothing good about it.
Secret Wars? Isn't that the movie
yeah.
thing?
It was supposed to be,
What is
but
it?
it didn't pan out.
It was about the Skrulls and Nick Fury,
I
and
forgot that was a show.
yeah,
Wow, no, I didn't watch that.
I feel like Kojima here is like, did I miss something?
She-Hulk was the worst. I don't think
That was
anyone
bad.
watched
I
it,
did
but
watch
she.
I never watched.
I did, and it was very bad.
I,
It
I
was-
Dumb.
I tried to watch that in full. I didn't finish it. I tried to watch that probably 6 times, and I just couldn't get through it.
It was.
I laughed.
didn't even try
because
it.
I felt like it was just a comedy, like sitcom show. I was like, oh, that's weird. Whatever you guys are doing, and then it just got so much. It didn't go anywhere, and it got real much stupider.
Yep.
And then I still can't believe the ending, man.
And nothing was funny. All the
No.
jokes were terrible.
I was disappointed with Loki because it started off good. It started off like kind of
Yeah.
like the Hitchhiker's Guide,
I
but then
heard-
it just like got boring because of that stupid like romantic thing
Yeah.
between the Lokis, and then it just
okay, so you guys watched it 1 and
Yeah,
2.
Yeah, both. of
So
them.
I've
Which
heard one starts good, it's super boring in the middle, and then it ends great.
Yeah.
Is that
Correct.
true?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about 2? Is it just
Two is
bad?
just bad.
Two is just bad.
It's boring.
See,
It's just-
I've always wanted to watch those, but I've heard this is not worth it. That's a
and it's a shame because I like Loki and Owen Wilson.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
awesome.
but that's the thing is that the only one I fully enjoyed was Hawkeye. Like
Yeah.
that's the only one
Yeah.
that from start to finish, this is great. I
Yeah.
love this. But
Yeah, because she actually like learns from Hawkeye. She's
Right.
not like
she
I'm
like,
the hero now.
a person who is less experienced makes mistakes. What a shocker. and- Well, and I think also too, it helped the fact that Hawkeye was much shorter than the other ones because it's only like what 6 episodes,
yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty
I
short.
don't remember.
but not full like seasons of these episodes like the other ones.
Didn't you
So-
watch Captain or Miss Marvel?
I did. I thought it was fun, but I also watched it at work. So that, like, I watched that, and I watched the what was the other one? The
Oh,
white.
the Marvels.
What the heck? No, what the you mentioned earlier? I keep wanting to say Sandman. What is his name?
Moon Knight.
Oh, Moon Knight.
Moon
I
Knight.
watched that at work, so I didn't mind it.
Sandman.
The both those I watched at work, and I was like, that was fun.
Did any of you watch Agatha?
No.
I watched 2
No.
episodes, and that was enough.
Yeah. That
What about the
seems like-
specials? The
I
special.
like that one special, the dark one, or like the
Night. Werewolf by Midnight.
yeah, that
I
one was
just
really
wanted to
good.
watch it, but I still haven't.
It was pretty good.
Guardian special isn't bad.
Yeah, the Guardians
Yeah.
Holiday
Kevin
special
Bacon.
was pretty
Yeah,
good.
But that's the thing is that it knows how to be just a goofy one-off.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
none of these know how to be what they're supposed to be, in my opinion. Like they're all trying to be like the next big thing. I'm like,
they're
just
all trying to build to a new MCU individually. It's like,
that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, it's like none of the series are communicating with each other about what they want to be. I'm like, just, geez,
like just be good for starters, and then you can go from there.
work on a story. Once you have that, then you can start shooting.
All right, we gotta move on to the
Get out of
news.
here.
Everyone, close your eyes. I forgot to make it.
Oh
big.
God, I
Oh
see
my
everything.
God. I've spoiled.
Spoiled the news. All right, so first thing,
Oh God, his face.
DC's YouTube channel hacked
Oh no.
by this guy, a Korean, is middle schooler named Jin Woo.
What?
hacked-
Solo
Yeah.
leveling?
Yeah, he hacked the DC account, and they took it. They had to take it down. There's
My gosh.
it was taken down because this kid hacked it. And
So-
there were
Apparently, Jin Woo is like John Smith in
Yeah.
Korea.
Korea.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So yeah, DC was all ready to start promoting Superman, and they got hacked. Oh wait, Michael, you weren't here last time, right?
Hello.
So we had some Harry Potter casting. So John Lithgow, Dumbledore. I forget this guy's name. I just forgot it. But he's doing Snape, and a lot of people are like, "That doesn't look like Snape. Snape's supposed to be an ugly guy." This is a very handsome
That
man.
is true. Snape is ugly. He's like
so
hook
by-
nose, pale and greasy.
yeah, so it doesn't kind of go with the book description, but
Everybody's upset that it's not Adam Driver.
yeah.
Like,
He would have been good.
yeah, that's what everybody's saying.
But also, like, I don't know if I want Adam Driver to like spend 6 years or 5 years doing nothing as Snape and then having two great seasons versus what else he could do. But,
True.
He just wanted to be in more movies.
yeah. But Jonathan Lithgow, I think he'll do great. He's a great actor. My only thing is like he's 80.
Yeah.
This show's gonna take probably 7 to 10 years. I'm assuming they've thought of this, but
You're gonna have to recast again.
Like, I don't want to be rude to the poor guy. He seems like a very spirited sprite man, but
Michael, I just told them I can't wait to see his outburst when he sees the goblet of fire and he's like, Harry! He's just like punching Harry in the face. He's like, what did you do?
Do you hope he turns into like Dick from Third Rock from the Sun? But like with Harry Potter?
I've only seen like 3 episodes of that.
Well, I was more asking Jared, but
Oh, sorry.
I've never seen that show.
oh,
Even worse,
Philistines.
Thomas.
I know.
Are they gonna have to replace him again?
I mean, I assume they probably do like I don't know. You would think they'd be like, "Hey, how's your health? Are you doing well?" I don't know. I don't know. But
Surprised they didn't get Harrison Ford.
it's just the fact that like we've already had one Dumbledore recasting because the Dumbledore passed away. It feels like you would go in with a little bit of caution. I don't know.
And Richard Harris did that too, knowing that he's like, I'm not gonna make it. You guys know that, right?
Like people wanted his son Jared Harris. I feel like I don't know.
See, I would have liked. I
Yeah,
would have
Jared
liked
Harris could've been
Jared.
cool.
Though I
But
feel
the thing
he's
is-
short. Is he short?
I think so.
He's not tall, but I know Jared Harris didn't want to do it though.
No, interesting.
Yeah.
I also feel like that would be weird. Like doing.
I don't
the
want to
role
do
your dad
this.
did.
Well, that's what he's saying. Is like my dad did that role, and like
Yeah.
I can't really live up to that. So why would I want to do that?
Well, then the other one was Gary Oldman was the big rumor, and I was like, that'd be cool.
It'd be kind of cool.
I feel like he would be great at it. But then the other guy, I have no idea who he is. So good luck to him.
I think he's a theater actor.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's about it. That's all we know.
Last of Us
Breaking my
3
heart.
does not seem like it's going to be happening, according to Neil Druckmann. The remaster didn't do great. And there's been a ton of controversy about the second one. So it looks like they want to focus on that space game that they're making. So
I don't feel like those things would play into it because Sony kind of lets Naughty Dog do what they want to do because they're going to make money, which they do. The Last of Us 2 made money regardless of whatever people thought of it. This breaks my poor wee little heart because Last of Us 2 is my favorite game of all time. And I have a clear picture of where the story could go for 3, and I wanted to see it. it too does end. I'm not gonna say satisfactorily because it does not, because it's a very heart wrenching, just destroy your brain emotion game. But it definitely wasn't ended in my opinion, and so I hope they do come back to this. But I hope it's but I want it to be Neil because like it's him and the guy that started that left like do the whole thing. But
Do you think they could finish it like or make a 3 through the show instead of the game?
Maybe.
they've already said that they think they have 4 seasons, which was the first kind of red flag to me before this came out. Was they said there's going to be 4 seasons of the show, and I'm like, what? Are you going to fit a whole new game that hasn't come out yet in the show? And apparently they're not going to do it.
They also cut out a lot of the first game in the first season too. So I mean
that's also like they got the main points. I feel like
that's what I'm saying. If you're going to do 4 seasons, like I don't know.
it'll be interesting. But yeah, it's very sad news to me for sure because I wanted the completion of that story. But
Yeah.
maybe one day, whenever it's officially confirmed, I'll give you guys my rundown of what I think the third one would be. But oh well.
Oh well. All
What a
right.
shame.
Did Neil model Joel after himself?
That's what I was going to say.
No, I think he had a ponytail
I
whenever
think-
that game started. So.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
he
okay.
modeled himself after
Yeah.
Joel.
Oh, that makes sense.
Transformed into. I want to play on HBO, and they're like, "No, we're gonna get Pedro." I was like, "Dang it!"
All right, so this came out like last week, and I didn't really think much of
Oh,
it.
why does Donkey look so bad?
I don't know.
The internet just like hated this. They thought this was like the worst thing ever. I don't know. Can you guys tell me what's wrong with
I
this?
have seen the comparisons. I would never have picked out that it looks bad. Like I'm like, they just look older and saggier.
Maybe a little greener.
But people,
It looks like AI art. to
It
be honest
looks
with you.
like
It looks very
Illumination
clean.
did it or something.
yeah,
it's very very bright.
it just doesn't look.
Looks like Smurfs 5, and I don't really like it.
Okay, like Shrek looks okay. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
look terrible. Donkey, that doesn't look natural.
He does look
like
weird. His eyes are very off.
Fiona looks like she got
Yeah.
hit with a frying pan.
Yeah, something's wrong with her. She doesn't
Her
have teeth or
face.
something.
Yeah, she doesn't like.
I think that might
And
be
then
the
I
freeze
have no
frame.
opinion about the daughter. She just looks like a fan made character almost.
Also, they had like 4 kids. What happened to the other
That's
one?
Yeah.
That's what
I'm
everyone's
like-
saying.
like-
He had like 3
There were,
kids.
like a bunch of them roll around, right? Did you kill them, eat them, cook them?
Maybe they're successful and they went on to business.
Maybe.
No, businessman. Hello, father.
But like when this happened, I was like, "Oh, Shrek looks fine," and then like it zoomed out. I was like, "Oh, no! What's that? What is that?" But just the donkey face is just.
It's gonna be
It
weird.
looks like they're torturing him.
It looks like she's strangling him.
It looks like it's just his head, and they.
What happened?
It's gonna be
It's the
weird
embalmed
if
head of donkey.
they don't explain where those kids went.
I know that's very weird.
All right, so this was kind of going around. So apparently, Gal Gadot and Rachel Ziegler don't really like each other because at the
Gee,
Oscars,
I wonder why.
they wouldn't even like look at each other when they were doing this little speech. And of course, Ziegler is very pro Palestine, and Gal Gadot's actually from
Actually, Israeli? Yeah.
yeah. So, and they made some comments on Twitter. Ziegler, like, she liked a picture of it was Snow White, but they cut out the evil queen on the poster, so it was just her. Because there's these weird fans that are like, why do they focus on Gal Gadot so much? Why it's supposed to be Rachel's film? So the internet is very weird sometimes.
No, the bigger question is like, who the hell would be envious when you look like that?
Well, Rachel is apparently. She's very jealous of.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, why would the evil queen be envious?
I know. A lot of people are saying they want the queen to win, and
Saying.
the funniest thing is the apple should win. So this Cheeto looks like Charizard, and it's sold for $87,840.
Can't you see it, Joseph? It's a no shadow hollow. Look at
How do we get onto Pokemon again? God.
So check your Cheeto bags for Pokemon, and you might.
I pulled a Charizard.
Okay,
Jeez,
so
Pikachu.
me and Johnny and Ari were at the art trail, and Johnny was doing his Pokemon pack. He's like, "All right, Thomas, like, give me luck." I'm like, "Johnny, I hate that stuff." And then he opens like the worst pack ever. I'm like, "Good."
I gotta open a pack.
I think I do
What's the
too.
last one?
Who would buy that though? Why would you?
I don't
It
know.
has
You
no
guys-
worth.
It's gonna rot.
Didn't they get it like a box and stuff though to make it look
Yeah, it's in a shadow box. It'll
It's a
make it.
Cheeto.
It's just
It'll
gonna
make it.
It's not like Game Freak was like, oh yeah, we made this Cheeto. It's just a Cheeto.
Just a Cheeto.
That was like, it's a Cheeto.
I really wish we could watch this, but Warner Brother has been
Oh.
aggressively taking this down everywhere. So this was
bad.
the
So
pilot
dumb.
for the Powerpuff Girls show that they were making. And did any of you guys get to watch it?
No, I just saw the
No,
Yeah.
poster.
I just saw that they were making this, and I was very saddened.
Yeah,
I
so-
saw the video that Johnny sent us, and it's like a 5-minute video, and you're just like, this has to be it was a real production. I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah, so Bubbles is like a drunk. She's like a drunk party girl. Blossom's pretty much Blossom. And then Buttercup is a social justice warrior who's just like, you know, that cartoon whitewashed us, even though the cartoon was made before that.
Well, Also, like what Johnny posted out or pointed out, they made Mojo Jojo two
human
people.
yeah.
What? Why? He's
It's a human and his daughter.
Mojo and
It's
JoJo.
it's Mojo and Jojo. Like, I was like,
Oh man.
why?
That's great.
yeah, that's stupid.
It is
So-
stupid.
We either dodged a bullet or lost a chance for some good money because we could have probably did a lot of videos on that.
No,
No,
I wouldn't watch that. I don't care what we would have gotten.
Veto.
Joseph, it's Rebel Moon all over again.
Yeah, man. you
Make
know?
it stop.
I like the Powerpuff Girls, and it's just gone downhill ever since they tried to reboot it. And then
Yeah,
this.
did anyone ever
They
watch
couldn't-
that reboot?
They couldn't do him. Like, they couldn't do it nowadays.
No, they couldn't do him. They couldn't do the secretary, Mrs. Bellum.
Oh, Mrs. Bellum. I love Mrs. Bellum.
Him was an awesome villain. I'm like,
That's an awesome character.
well, when that character goes like super creepy and basically becomes Satan, like
Yeah.
this is so awesome. This is like Courage the Cowardly Dog type stuff.
All right, so that's
And the action was
news. You guys aren't caught up on anything. Are you guys caught up on solo leveling?
No,
No, I forgot to watch
No.
it this week.
we're gonna get together.
I'm not
hopefully
super
next week.
ahead. I'm not super ahead of these guys. I missed this week's.
I mean, we're
Missed.
3 weeks behind now.
Gonna have a lot to watch. Luckily, it's spring break this week.
Hey, it is.
That means nothing to me.
It means a lot to me. All right.
You want to know what Reacher did real fast? So Reacher, there was a guy that had a small bladder. Reacher tried that cat coffee where the cats poop and make coffee.
Oh, did you like it?
He at first he's like, this is disgusting, but then he was like, cat butt. He gives a man diabetes, so I can't really tell you.
He
how
took my superpower. I
I
had
can't. I can't really tell you how he did it, but he gave a man diabetes.
Did he rip out his pancreas?
No, he. I can't explain it. The Mexican character listened to La Bamba.
Nice.
As one does.
But how did he not already know La Bamba?
But it
That's
was very
true.
generic. No, he
Why
was
was
to it in the car in the radio.
Oh, okay. I
Oh,
thought you
okay.
meant he was his first time.
No.
Yeah, I was just like, how old is this character? And like, how had he not?
The real big guy we talked about, he slapped Reacher and Reacher was like out of it, man. He was like, whoa.
One of those slap fights.
And the little nerdy kid came up to Reacher and was like, are you okay? You got slapped pretty hard. So
He's
So
like,
that
"Shut
was-
up, nerd."
yeah, pretty much. He's like, I'm not sad. And that was pretty much out for Reacher. So we'll check on him again next time.
My feed has been all like Reacher supercuts with him as Thad from Blue Mountain State. It's like, man, the next season of Reacher's kind of crazy, and it's just like Thad doing the most unhinged thing on Spike TV.
They're
I've
bringing
never
that back, didn't they? Didn't they say they wanted to bring that back? And
They did a movie with just him in it. It was pretty good. I mean,
he's like,
okay,
oh,
that shows a guilty pleasure for me because it's really funny, but it is like lowbrow humor, like especially with Alan Richardson's character, who like is not afraid to do pretty much anything they ask him to do, and so that to me that's part of the charm. But it is a very funny show.
anime. Anyone watch anime?
Yes, I did.
What'd you watch?
I watched a show called 86 or The 86. It's so this nation has an army of supposedly uh or animatronic like soldiers, and so like this whole country lives in a super like utopian state while these uh what do you call it, automated soldiers fight this enemy that is going on. Turns out that the automated soldiers aren't automated, they're actually second class citizens that are being controlled because of like a rebellion type thing. It's pretty good so far. I'm enjoying it. I'm actually kind of tempted to check out the light novel because I've heard the light novel is really, really good. So we'll see. They both left us.
I know they just left.
Like, it's the Thomas and Joseph show now. Woo!
What are you watching the 86 on?
Crunchyroll, because my cousin does a ton of the expos for Crunchyroll. He's like, hey, do you want a full like 6 months of like the top tier premium for free? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, here you go. And emailed me like one of their like exclusive codes for like their staff. I'm just like, awesome. So I have like all these like I have all these privileges I'm never going to use because it's all related to like their merch. Get like 40% off on merch. I'm just like, I don't buy anime merch, so thanks. But all right, cool.
Jared, any anime this week?
No.
No. Watch Shangri-La Frontier. They got to this arc where they were fighting this
They
ghost.
didn't even respond to you this
I know.
week.
Because he says it every time.
And yet I still laugh.
So he's fighting this ghost wolf thing, and it's super powerful. They're doing it was cool because they're doing like all their like ultimate moves. This chick was doing like an Armageddon attack, but it took like 5 minutes for it to charge, so they had to protect her for 5 minutes. And then the main character did this one attack that takes a whole week to recharge after you use it. So, and then even the rabbits were doing like super attacks on it, and they couldn't defeat it. I mean, they defeated it, but then it was like, oh, that was just my first form. And then they were like, oh, shoot. Because he wanted to get that curse off of him so he can wear armor, but it didn't work. And
he
still
really
got
wants
that curse
armor.
on him. Yeah, he's naked, man. He's running around naked. So, and he's got like cool mech armor that he wants to try, but he can't try it. So that was that. So, we can get into anything. Oh, first, I wanted to do this. So there was this other coincidence. Last time I told you I watched Hot Summer Nights. Have you ever seen that, Michael?
I don't think so.
It's with Timothy Chalamet. There was a coincidence. Like I told you, I watched a YouTube video, and then after I watched the movie, the song was in the YouTube video. So what happened this week was Jared sent us, me and Jonah, this video about the song Tarzan Boy, and because he couldn't remember it.
I didn't know it at all.
I know you know it.
I did not know it. I've never heard that song in my life.
And it just so happens that Tarzan Boy is in Hot Summer Night, so the coincidence just keeps going. So I'll probably find something next.
You're making all of this up.
There's a little housekeeping, right? Because we watched The Lost Weekend last time, and Michael, you didn't get to review it, right? Was it you?
Oh, geez, yeah.
So tell us what you thought of it.
Oh God. Okay, so I watched this the week before we were supposed to do it because I was confused. It's way out of my brain. From what I remember, I enjoyed the movie itself. It was a different flavor of Oscar winner. I felt like that we've been used to with, like, you know, dealing with his alcoholism and oh my goodness, whew, I forget movies all the, like, period. This is hard. I feel like it was acted well. How did it end?
I'm
Well,
happy.
kinda just
He was
ended.
gonna
Yeah.
become a writer.
So did you? Oh, sorry, you're doing Lost Weekend. Sorry. Why I was thinking, like, I thought you were like reviewing on Aurora for a second. I was just like,
Aurora,
who?
the lady from Sleeping Beauty.
No, the movie Aurora.
That's a Nora.
Honora. Sorry, Honora, not Aurora. Oh my god.
Aurora.
Even I'm confused now. Oh.
No, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good from what I remember. I enjoyed the acting, the content that it was dealing with, and yeah, from what I remember, that's about it.
All right. What else did you watch?
Dude, I didn't do anything through this whole thing.
Nothing.
I didn't even put anything in my notes. I've been watching a lot of That 70s Show. I continued because I wanted something after Modern Family that was. I was like, I can't compare. I want something that's the same, but nothing's going to compare to it right now. So I just got to go in a different direction. So I want with That 70s Show. Surprised how good that show is. I'm all surprised how many I've seen. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember that part. I remember this part. But it has a lot of heart to it. It's a horny darn show, and it's for youngsters. I can't believe I watched this as a kid because it's still raunchy now. Oh my goodness, but has some real heart and real good characters to it. I'm on I think season 3 now. But yeah, we're at the point where I forget how touching Hyde's story is and how they kind of take him into their house, and Red teaches him stuff. He starts doing all of Eric's chores, and then he starts liking him more than Eric, and that's really funny. But yeah, Red and Kitty are just freaking darn hilarious. Bob and Midge, though, man, they're a conundrum. Their whole swinger phase,
and creepy,
and divorcing phase, and they're getting back together phase, and then now we're at the point where Jackie's in love with Hyde because he took the hit for the weed and went to jail, but then that all caused conundrums. And then Red went on his like uber, I'm going to be strict. You thought I was strict before? Fun times over. He kept saying fun times over. And so they're all on like house arrest basically until Kitty loses her mind and says, I want my fun house back. Whatever. But yeah, it's a really good show. I'm enjoying it. It's weird.
Do you like how they got around the pot, the 4-degree camera? Like, because like they go down to the basement to smoke pot, right? Yeah. So they couldn't show it on TV, so they had to figure out how you can have a pot conversation with teenagers without showing pot. Well, you put the camera at the point of view of the pot, and so they just like whoop.
So I remember that. Yeah,
I'm like that's pretty ingenious, actually.
Yeah. It's a very good show, very well written, good characters, and got some heart to it. Some really, really stupid bits, of course, but fewer stupid bits as we go on. So I'm impressed with it. All the other things I did, I've been continuing my book a week thing going on. Last time we talked about, you guys gave me a few recommendations, but I still wanted a gritty fantasy thing that wasn't all political. And so I ended up diving into The Witcher because I thought the Witcher books were going to be like, I think epic fantasy, I think like 20, 30 hours long, 10 and a half. I was like, what the heck? 11. Apparently I started out of order because though Blood of the Elves says the book one on Audible, The Last Wish is like a compilation of stories with Geralt that is supposedly the beginning, and it is.
There's Puss in Boots in it.
Puss, I'm Geralt. There are some strange changes from the game to the book going like just like character wise, like Geralt's kind of pleasant in the books. He's has way more manners, and he's way more polite. Yeah, he's not anger first or grumble first. He'll talk to people and reason with them. Very different from my Geralt that I played in the game because you make your own choices, and I'm like, that guy needs to die. Okay.
Now we know how Michael would be a Witcher.
Starting with Blood of the Elves is interesting because Geralt in the game and in Last Wish, which I found out afterwards because I'm doing that one out of order now. So I'm not quite done with it, but I feel like I can talk about it because it's just stories. it's strange because in the Blood of the Elves, like it's after a culmination of some big heroic event, and Geralt's kind of a little revered by people. He's well known, him and the main characters of the story of the games. And Last Wish is way more like what I'm used to in the games, where everyone's like, "Oh, Witcher, get out of here, you nasty, disgusting abomination to humanity,
mutant."
That was interesting to go from like, oh, everyone likes you and you're nice. What is going on in this story? Which is strange, but basically like I said, the short stories, I'll do that one second because that's the order we're going to do it. The Blood of the Elves is basically he just takes Ciri. It's kind of a mishmash of the training in the third game, and then jumping back to just continuing that story where he takes Ciri to Kaer Morhen, and Triss comes there and she ends up training her in magic, and then they take her to the school to go learn from blah blah blah, Yennefer actually. But then we get a weird little in between scene where Geralt actually fights a sea monster, which was cool, and then they go. That's kind of it. There are some weird scenes where they do get political in the sense of like they jump to a courtroom, they introduce a bunch of lords and ladies, and they start talking about land and stuff, and that's where I zone out because I'm like, I know the names of these people from the games, which is like the only thing helping me here, because otherwise I'm just like, I just get completely droned out. It's weird. I was telling Alex, like, because after a little hatred in this book, I'm like, not a lot happens in these first books. It's like you're introducing this whole world and everything. There's not much going on. Ciri goes and learns some spells. Geralt takes some side jobs, and we hear a bunch of people's plots.
It's almost like a day in the life of Witcher.
It's very strange, and that's kind of how Little Hatred was. A Little Hatred was so much set up to a grander world, and I'm like, this is very strange to me. Very strange.
Witcher slice of life.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm writing the first of a trilogy, and a lot of crap happens in my book. I'm like, I feel a little better about my slow sections, where I'm like, okay, I can let this pad out a little bit because you guys just have a whole book of just whatever.
I want to get your opinion on this one. So, like Last Wish, it kind of just drops you in, and you kind of to figure out a lot of things from context, because it's like starts off like, oh yeah, so this is happening, I'm doing this. Oh, it's like third person, but it's left up to the reader to figure out what a Witcher is, because it really doesn't give you a lot of detail about a Witcher and what they do. And so, how do you feel about being dropped in like that?
That would be a better question. So how I found out that The Last Wish was the first released book.
First one.
Johnny actually started without talking to each other. He started The Witcher while I started The Witcher, but I started with Blood of the Elves. He started with The Last Wish. And he was like, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know who these people are because he hasn't played the games. I'm like, I'm actually very familiar with the character in the games. I played 2 and 3. I never played the first one, but so I'm pretty familiar with it. I will say
very good.
There is a story in I think it's the third story in The Last Wish where Geralt, it is from his perspective and he's talking as Geralt, and it does give a lot more insight of who he is, what he's doing, and stuff like that. But yeah, at the first, it's very I can't believe like people got into this book. You have to take a lot on faith.
Polish, man. I guess there's something else to do.
They're just like oh yes, and he made a sign and the thing happened. You're like, what is a sign? It's post what am I talking about here?
But that's what I mean too, is that not only is it you drop in, right? Because it's just dropped into the story, but it's also a short story, like several short stories, and you're just like, wait, that ended? What's happening now? Like, who is this? Like, there is some continuation in Last Wish because it happens chronologically, but it's all like super separated, super segmented, and nothing really lines up with the rest of it. It's just like, again, a day in the life of Geralt, basically. And so, did you find that more? I don't want to say appealing, but just more like, hey, I'm kind of interested now, like on this like character in the book wise. Like, did that like draw you in more, or would you prefer starting like with Blood of the Elves or this? If you had to redo it again?
Definitely for what I was looking for, Last Wish is hitting more of what I wanted. I wanted this just kind of like, I want to go on adventures. I want to take out monsters. I want to see fantasy stuff happen. Whereas Blood of the Elder is a lot of talking, and they're great characters. It's extremely well written character wise. So I was definitely entertained in Blood of the Elves for sure. Like Triss and getting to know Ciri, and then going to Yennefer and the whole teaching. Although the chronologicalness of the teaching with Yennefer threw me off because they're like, oh, we're leaving flashback to when we got here, but that's beside the point.
I wonder because I wonder if you saw this too. The structure of like time is kind of hard to follow sometimes because the next chapter it'll be like, oh yeah, 3 years before, and it doesn't give you that. You're just like, wait, hold up. Why are they not together? Who is this person?
Like,
so
Bob, I love you so much. I don't want you to go, Bob. Hey, my name is Bob. Good to meet you. Bob.
Yeah.
What?
Yes, exactly. I'm just because, but I wonder if that's like a translation issue or what. Because I
wondered a lot of that. Yeah.
Because I ran into some of that when I was going through. Like I think I went through like 4 or 5 of the Witcher books, and sometimes I was just like, I don't think this was how they were supposed to be saying this because this doesn't make any sense to me. Like time wise, I'm like this. Why is this put here? Like this is so weird. So I'm wondering if that's a translation because I was really curious if you ran into that.
Yeah, there definitely are points where you're jumping up, and that's actually what I've chalked up to. I'm like, I'm guessing this is like either just their kind of style of how they write there, or it's some translation thing or something. But there's a lot of acceptance you have to go to in taking these. But in the last Wish, there was a story I messaged Johnny. I was like, because it's basically like Geralt gets taken off the beaten path because he thinks there's a trap ahead, runs into a couple dead people, and then follows that trail up to an old house surrounded by things. And a monster comes out, and then he starts talking to the monster, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, be our guest, Geralt? Because it's pretty much just Beauty and the Beast, where this giant monster talking to him. He's like, oh, I got cursed a long time ago for doing this and that. It's a lot darker. It's much darker than Beauty and the Beast because he got cursed for raping old priestess. But
they did that's why I got cursed.
Yeah.
But they did do that story in the show.
Really?
With Tormund Giantsbane, he plays the Beast.
I do remember that. Yeah, I do. Yeah,
but when that showed up in the show, I'm just like, whoa, wait, why are we here? What's going on?
Yeah, it's like that just kind of shoehorned into what they're doing.
That's a really famous like story from The Witcher. Is that story specifically because like Ciri was in like the show with that. I'm like, Ciri's not there.
Yeah, no.
Why is this? What's going on? So
so for me, going into what I was in the mood for was definitely just small adventures, stuff like that. But it would depend on very much where you want to start. Do you want to start with the beginning of the grand story, or do you want to start with some adventures? I like the adventures, but I'm also enjoying the grand story. I'm going to continue those after this because I was just, like I said, I was just surprised they were only 10 hours. So yeah, I was like, I'm in. There's like 6 of them or something like that. So not too bad. So yeah, that's where I'm at book wise. That's all I got.
I'll throw it to
I did listen to all of because I sent a couple songs to you guys because I was jamming to that after I sent that serotonin song to our music monthly thing of One Direction. I listened to that full album which came out in October, and what is it, Running? It's just a jam. It's just a jam of a song, and then I actually really like the whole album. Then I listened to all of One Direction, and
whoa!
There's not that much actually. There's probably 4 or 5. There's stuff that's not for me because it's just that kind of poppy style and everything. But there's nothing I didn't like. But that the newest album is just a jam though. I've had it on repeat for like a week. Yeah, it's good.
Well, next week's Music Week.
That's true.
I got a lot of stuff to listen to.
Yeah, so did you hear about one of the members of One Direction?
Mm-mm.
He has found
One Republic or One Direction. What did I say?
Oh, you said
One Direction.
One Direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes more sense now.
Yeah.
Listen to One
I was
Direction.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's like, I listened to all of One Direction, and I was like, wow, okay.
One Republic. Let's correct
okay.
I have never listened to One Direction. I don't plan on ever listening to One Direction.
He likes One Direction.
No offense, One Direction.
But you never planned on listening all of Nickelback, and yet.
Oh, and I don't plan on doing so again.
I saw that video. I watched that video I sent to you guys about, he was defending Nickelback as, it's a fun band. His favorite song was the Rockstar. I don't think you guys talked about Rockstar, did you?
Because it's been decades of talking about Rockstar. I'm sick of talking about Rockstar.
Oh, man. Good old
Which is also on that album that I love, by the way. Just saying.
Whose turn is it?
Whoever
I'll
wants
go.
to go.
Okay.
So it's been a really long week. I'm trying to survive here. So I didn't really watch anything except for YouTube, just trying to like not lose my mind. So watched a bunch of Markiplier. For some reason, and I don't know why, I rewatched this one video of him called "This Game's About Digging a Hole." I watched it like 4 times, and I do not remember what happens in this video. Like I zone out every single time I watch this video. And I've tried watching it like several times. And like I've like completed it. It's just like, wait, is it over? Oh God. I don't think I remember anything about this. And yeah, it's yeah, anyway. But watched a bunch of him, watched his like Five Nights at Freddy's one, which is always a fun one. Watched his
My favorite is the Honey Pop playthrough.
the playthrough, yeah, that one, and Mopey's Burgers, I think it's called. Anyway, those they're just he's very relaxing to listen to. I don't know if it's his voice or the charm or what. I don't know. He's just very, whenever I put on Markiplier, I feel a little better. Like I like that. Then I watched this other guy. I've actually watched him with Jared a few times. Will Tennyson.
Oh, I love Will.
He is kind of funny because he did that one with Eddie. What's his name? The strongest man in the world.
I'm
But
blanking.
I know. Eddie, just Eddie. But he did one of worst rated gyms on Yelp, and some of those were pretty disgusting. Like, he's like, I don't want to touch these dumbbells because I don't know what's on these dumbbells.
What
and
was
then he
the
also,
city?
it was all over the place. I don't remember, but
Just went everywhere.
well, like one of them was just like, oh yeah, I hate this place because my scooter keeps getting stolen out front, and he's like, I'm not sure why he has a scooter, but I brought a scooter here. We'll see if it's here by the time
It's stolen.
yeah. And then he did one where he worked at Planet Fitness for like a week, which is really funny. He couldn't get the lonk alarm to go off, even though he was trying to. He's like, I'm lifting the max. And he's like, I don't want to make a sound when I do this, so it's just kind of hard.
Dude, I saw a creepy video about a daycare, and they were like, people on YouTube were like watching this daycare, and it didn't seem like the lady ever left. And like, what is going on with this daycare?
Is it that green one?
Yeah,
Like the outside's green and they never saw anyone in there. Or...
yeah.
Was it at Planet Fitness?
No, it was a daycare.
He brought up a point, and I've seen this at several gyms where like they have like a row of equipment, right? But only one works. He's like of cardio machines. He's like, I think they just buy a new one instead of trying to get the old one repaired, and they just add it to the line of infinite cardio machines. I'm just like, yeah, no, that sounds like that happens because I remember going to one of the gyms here, and like one treadmill was working, but there were like 30 treadmills. I'm just like, did they just not care or what? So
yeah, the one gym by me, I walked behind. I've never been behind it, and there was like a bunch of treadmills all behind it. I was like, what is this?
It's so weird.
Did you watch the most expensive gyms?
No, I haven't seen that one yet. I saw the thumbnail for it. I'm just like, that can't be real, right? So, but yeah, watched him, and then for some reason I watched a ton of LA Beast.
I did that the other week too. I don't know why.
I don't know why. I just kind of circle back to him every now and then. He
has new episodes, but they are still from like 2005. It's crazy.
Yeah. The one I saw was the Harbo sugar-free gummy bears. He eats like 5 pounds of them, and like it does not end well. So also the super Megadeth like sour candy. He's just like, it's fine. So
Eddie Hall, that's the strongest.
Eddie Hall, sorry. And then administrative results came out with the cool video. He went to this competition. I've mentioned Finnish Brutality. It's like a survival / marksmanship like competition in Finland, but this time they held it in the winter, which they had never done before. and he's from Arizona, and he's going to the Finnish winter. He's like, this is my worst nightmare of all time. Like, I am not built for this. I'm not bred for this. Nothing about this environment makes me feel safe. So that's like Joseph going to like Finland.
Yeah, if you're a desert guy, you cannot take cold, man. It kills you.
Well, one of the shooting competitions was getting into a lake and shooting targets from the lake, like you're chest high, and he's having to shoot. He's like, I don't think I can do this.
I mean, you would be like, oh.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah.
Oh man, I shot a person. Dang it.
Well, he's like, the only reason I am able to do this is sauna, and there's so much alcohol here. That's the only way I'm keeping warm.
You shot the Krampus.
Yeah. No, nine, the Krampus. And then I did go on. I continued my Maroon 5 journey.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I listened to the next two. So all hands all over is the next one. And I'll say right now, half of this album is okay, not great. There's one song I actually kind of liked. It's like, that's not bad. I like that. I even saved it. I'm like, I like that song. The rest of it, not good, like at all. Like, this is not very good. Didn't care for pretty much anything for the latter half of that, except for the Moves Like Jagger. But I think that's just a single. I think they just included it in there because I can only get the deluxe version of this on Spotify. There's no like regular version. So I'm like, I think it's included that. I don't think it's actually part of the album. So, and then we got to Overexposed. And this one has that song Payphone on there.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, this was a terrible album. Like, it's like Maroon 5 was trying to be Coldplay and also U2 at the same time. Like, it was so overproduced. It was so auto-tuned. I mean, it was just. And I'm not saying Coldplay is overproduced and auto-tuned. I'm just saying they auto-tuned themselves.
Like it,
I'm saying they auto-tuned themselves to try to sound like Coldplay is what it sounded like. Because Adam Levine has a very unique voice. He doesn't have a very like strong voice. It's just it has a very unique quality to it, and that's why like the first two albums I think worked really well. Because they're kind of trying to be like, 70s funk, and it worked really well. He didn't have to have a normal voice for it. Well, he's trying to belt out like all these like ballads. I'm just like, the voice does not work for this. He's like, I don't want to pay for. And I'm just like, stop.
I remember when
get that out of here.
I remember when he got all the tattoos. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. There's this one song called Lucky Strike. Is like I almost say it's almost like Nickelback lyrics, but set to trying to be Coldplay music. Like it is a.
Did it sound like that Nickelback song that was them trying to be Maroon 5? Do you remember that, Michael?
I don't remember that song.
Nickelback.
Do you remember it? Let's see.
Remember.
Okay, here's one of the lyrics. You're such a motivator, gotta get your way. So sick of saying yes, sir, yes, sir. You're such an instigator. You play the game, take it or leave it. That's her, that's her. It is like
I'm about it.
But yeah, so got through those two. I am afraid to go to the next one. Because I love the first two albums of Maroon 5, but man, that
sorry, we're Pokemoning it.
Why are you doing it during my section?
So
jackasses?
how many do you have left? 2? Because you got like the V one and
so there's V, but the thing is,
Joseph answered the question for how many Pokemon cards.
I hate you so much, Joseph.
I thought 100% Jared was asking Joseph. I didn't think he was talking to you.
So answer is it V and then what's the one after that?
There's V, and then there's one called Red Pill Blues, but I don't know if it's an actual album they did or if it's a what do you call it? Where they pair up with somebody. What's it called? Collaboration album. Because they got that one, and they got their latest one, which is called Geordie. And so I don't know.
LaForge?
Yeah. Well, actually spelled with a J, not a G.
Oh.
So
Do you have an idea of who you're gonna listen to after Maroon 5?
I don't
6.
Shut up, Joseph. I don't really know. Like I'm trying to figure out, like I've tried to maybe go through YouTube again because I've never gone through. Huh?
He has told you to listen to them. Like,
Blue Stones.
Blue Stones?
Blue Stones.
I've only told you
Okay.
like 5 times listening to it.
Oh, well, okay. Do you want me to do Blue Stones or YouTube?
Blue Stones.
Yeah.
Joseph, I'm not listening to you.
Well, I told you 5 times.
All right. I'll try Blue Stones after I get through these
I
other
have,
three.
like 3 albums. I'll look at it.
But man, it's Overexposed. And I was just
Yeah.
like,
even like fans hate that one because it's so like, I guess like bubblegum.
it was so bubblegum pop. I'm just like, this is not Maroon 5. This is
I
terrible.
like some bubblegum pop.
I hate you so much. Joseph.
But from like the 60s and stuff.
Anyway, all right, Jared, take us out.
Okay, real fast. I started another audiobook, but I haven't finished it yet, so I'll talk about that when I get to it. Go ahead.
I did start a book, and it got a lot of conversation in like our friendosphere, mostly because it was Johnny's girlfriend that told me to read it.
Smut? Was it Smut?
And then Alex's girlfriend also found out I was reading it, and then Corey's wife found out I was reading it, and so they're all talking to me about it. And yes, it's Fourth Wing. It's that smut book, and I'm just like, because like when we came out of the theater, all 3 of them like swarmed to me like, so how far are you in Fourth Wing? I'm like, I just started it. Like, Jesus.
Thomas is like 2 chapters in. He's like, "Ooh, he's got the vapors."
It does start. It doesn't start super soon, but it definitely the foundations are there. So I haven't got to the smut
So
yet.
foreplay is happening.
Yes, the foreplay definitely is happening right now. So
that's just what they say all fantasy is now. It's just that romantic-y stuff.
just smut, yeah.
Dude, it's selling like crazy.
It is selling like crazy.
Michael should have wrote a smut.
Yeah, I know.
Should've
Switch
done.
over.
But I told them like, oh yeah, no, I'm reading this. But, I was reading like stuff by Cormac McCarthy, and they're like, yeah, whatever. So what do you think about Fourth Wing? I'm just like, yeah, okay, cool. I guess we're just glossing over McCarthy. We'll go
They
to
didn't bring up
Fourth Wing.
McCarthy. They want the
They want the
Michael,
smut.
just rework your book for
just
some
throw in some
romance
smut
in there.
scenes in
That'd
there.
be very questionable. Very questionable indeed.
That robot has other purposes.
Oh hell yeah! It's a robot one. And then
There you go. Sorry.
I went to Barnes and Noble and I actually bought a book. So I'm reading an actual book and then I'm listening to one. So I'll get back to those as soon as I can. I actually subscribed to somebody on YouTube for the first time in a long time. His name is called Todd the Shadows.
Oh, nice.
I got hooked on him because he's got this series called One Hit Wonderland, where he talks about all the one hit wonders and like the Billboard's top 100. I kind of knew because our dad had that best of 70s that you remember, Josie, you remember that The Night Chicago Died song?
Mm-hmm.
He talks about that, and I was like, huh, they were British? I thought, because it's about Chicago.
The night Chicago died.
So I was like, oh, they're British? What the heck? So I've been learning all about these like one-hit wonder bands, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I didn't know that Jars of Clay actually made it onto the Billboard at one time with Flood, because I listened to Jars of Clay when
They
I
used
was
to play it
younger.
on MTV.
Yeah, and that blew my mind. I was like, "What?" But that it's been really cool. He's talked about Skilo. I wish. It's just like cool getting all this like history from like these one hit wonder bands. So I'm almost done with that whole series. There's like 101 videos. They're only like 15 minutes long.
So he was originally part of Channel Awesome back in
Oh,
the day
really?
with Nostalgia Critic. Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of oh shoot. Joseph, what's that dude that does the how it's made, but it's like
Oh, what was that guy's name? I can't
man,
remember.
he reminds me of that guy. Oh, Hugbees.
Yeah,
Bees.
Huggies,
Yeah.
He reminds me of him, but I've been enjoying it a lot. I can't wait to get to like his other stuff. And then
they had a collaboration with all the Channel Awesome people. He like walks in and goes like, "Did you know he's black? I had no clue."
I do like his style because it's just like him, like in a hoodie, you can't see him, and then he's like his profile picture is him like as Schroeder from the Peanuts.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he's actually like the little bit of piano he plays in the videos. I'm like, oh, he's pretty good. But then all else I did was music. I listened to all of Bring Me the Horizon. I didn't know much about them. I knew, of course, that what is their big single called? Can You Feel My Heart? That's all I really knew about them. So I think last time I was talking about their first two or three albums where it's like really screamy, like that old like screamo kind of sound to it. So I finally got to the album with Can You Feel My Heart? And it's not what I was expecting. I was expecting a lot of that. Oh, go ahead.
Well, were you prompted to listen to this, or did you just want to? I never got the story about that. Sorry.
Chris just recommended it to me because we both know that song and we don't really know a ton about them. But yeah, that album wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting more of that kind of style of Can You Feel My Heart? Because that's a really good song. But then the rest is, oh my God, dude. It's such like Tumblr girl lyrics. Like I like the screamo stuff because you can understand the freaking lyrics. So now I can understand him. And it is so annoying. And then I finished that one and I got to the album That's the Spirit. So this is the one with like what is that song called? Spotify's not loading up. Happy Song. That was like the big one off of this one. And then there's a couple other songs on here that's pretty good, but it's like double down on the Tumblr girl lyrics. I was like, and then this he always every album has the line about like, because on the last album, If I Can Feel Your Heart or Can You Feel My Heart, there's a song where he says throw me to the wolves or something like that. This album has throw me to the wolves again on another song. I was like, all right, you're just recycling. And then I get to the next album, AMO or something like that, AMO. This one's a little bit better. It still has that Tumblr girl lyrics, and but yeah, there's a couple features on here, like Rhymes is on it, and it's pretty good. The music's really good.
When
it's just
was
lyrics.
when was this one released? You know.
This one is 2019.
Okay,
How
so this
did
was
you know
after.
that?
I'm looking at him.
I'm looking at it.
So this was
There's a couple of their
after.
albums actually.
This was after Death Stranding, so they probably did a collaboration on that then.
But then this album has, he says, throw me to the fire. And I was like, Jesus, man, get a new lyric.
He just wants to be thrown.
Throw me to everything.
Throw me to the
chipmunks.
wall.
And then the next one we get to is Post-Human Survival Horror, which was released on 2020. This
That's
one
an
is,
album?
yes.
Yes.
This one's only 9 songs long, but it's a lot better. It's not as like whiny and like the like I said, Tumblr girl lyrics. Amy Lee's on the last song of this album, and but it's bad, like because she's singing what he's like what they're writing, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cringy, dude. And then it has a really good song on there with Baby Metal, if you know who that is, called Kingslayer. It's really good. They always, whenever they're featured in this song, they always just like make that song a little bit better. And then we get to the most recent album, Post-Human Next Gen. This one's probably their best by far. It doesn't have the bad lyrics. There's a lot of features on here. They're always good with features because I think like them mixed with, it's not 100% them, it's a lot better. Under Oath is on this one. What's that guy's name? Little Uzi Vert, like rapper slash rocker, because he does a lot of rock on his albums. He's good on here, but yeah, this was a lot better. But the whole time I'm listening to Bring Me the Horizon, I'm like, kind of just want to listen to Bad Omens, because Bad Omens is like the good Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah.
So I went to Bad Omens because I haven't listened to their first two. And it's funny because the only thing I really know them for is the Death of Peace of Mind album, and then Dethrone from their second album. So I was thinking like the first album or all their older stuff was going to be super heavy. The first album is heavy, and I do like it. I do like it a lot. There's some really good songs on there, like Glass Houses is really good off of there. But then you get to their second album, Finding God Before God Finds Me, and it's like, it's not as heavy. It's like kind of pop metal. I do like it. It has Dethrone on there. The deluxe version has a cover of Come Undone by Duran Duran. And I could have, like, before looking them up, I was like, are these guys British? I feel like they're British. They're from Virginia. I was like, huh, that's
surprising.
weird. And then Bring Me the Horizon, I would have thought they were from like the Midwest. They're from Britain. I was like, oh, okay, that's weird.
What is going on?
But then we get to the album Death of Peace of Mind. That is such a good album. Like,
It's perfection.
Yeah. Besides like two songs that they're not bad, but they're just kind of like the slow part of the album. It would have been a perfect album. Like, there's only one song I skip because it's just like, I don't really care for it, but it's so good. It's such a good album.
That album comes on rotation at least every other month for me. It's so good.
I like I think Just Pretend, it's such a good song. I love that song. It's probably my favorite off of there, and it's like it's more of a ballad than like heavy, so that's kind of different for me. I usually like the heavier songs.
A ballad, huh?
Yeah. And then we get to the most recent one, Concrete Jungle, the OST. This is a bunch of features and like remixes of their last song or their older songs. The big single off of here was VAN, which stands for Violence Against Nature in the song, but it has Poppy featured on there. And I really like Poppy. So when I saw them like collaborate, I was like, oh, hell yeah. And then it also has Era, the band Era, on here as well. That song's awesome. I don't need like the live versions on here, but it's a really good album. And looking them up, I was kind of disappointed because the main singer is going through like mental health issues, so they're on hiatus. And I was like, dang it.
Oh, dang.
They're really good. They're like the good Bring Me to the Horizon. I don't know why they're so famous. But that's all I listened to this time. I had two suggestions for the guys. It was either Metallica or what else did I say? Metallica or somebody else. But then
I don't remember.
but one came to mind that it was like so obvious because I only know it was Rise Against. It's so obvious because I only listened to like one or two of his singles. I don't know anything about him as Beck.
Yeah.
And he has a big discography, so I was like, oh, that'd be a good person to go through, so I'm gonna go through Beck next.
I don't even know who
Beck
that is.
next. You don't know Beck?
Don't know Beck.
Sprechen the
What?
Deutsch.
He did the sound, most of the music for
Beckham?
Scott Pilgrim.
He was on a really good episode of Futurama.
He's not
Never
gonna
really
know
watched
that.
Futurama.
He's
Well,
a
that's
loser.
You should watch afterwards.
Yeah,
It really doesn't seem like it's for me. I've seen some episodes.
yeah, I don't think he'd like it.
Too bad.
I know.
Jared brought up like English bands. Normally you hear them, except for like the Beatles, you hear them and you don't like realize they're English until they talk. I found a band though. They sound when they sing, they're very British sounding. That was like a first. I was like, I'd never hear this, but yeah.
It's kind of like the Smiths are like, yeah, no, duh. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, did my 3 movies. The theme was Scott. Some guy named Scott was involved. So Cellar Door, it was written by a guy named Sam Scott, and it stars a guy named Scott Speedman.
Hold on. Where did you get the theme from?
Yeah, I have to ask.
Well, I was watching 2 movies and I noticed they had guys named Scott in it. So at the 3rd movie, I was like, I gotta watch something with the guy named Scott. So Cellar Door was from last year. This it's okay. Let me ask you guys this. If Lawrence Fishburne came up to you and is like, I will give you a mansion. The only rule is you can't open the cellar door. Would you take that mansion?
Yeah, I would be fine with with scenarios like that. If I don't have permission to do something, I won't do it. Like I don't have temptation or anything. I'm just like, yeah, I won't do that. I'd be fine with that.
That would eat me alive until I knew what was down there.
Could you? Well, we know the victim. Then, would you? Or sorry, clarification of rules. So, if you got the mansion, could you just sell it and be like, "Hey, guess what? There you go."
Yeah, you can sell it if you
But
want.
don't tell them about the door because it's not my responsibility anymore.
Break it off.
That, I don't know if that works, but yeah.
Michael would tell him, "Hey, there's a little, I've never opened a cellar," just so he could get the mystery end.
Can you tell
on
me?
the phone. Go down and tell me what's going on.
So this movie felt like a Lifetime movie if Lifetime was for like sensitive guys.
What?
So that's instead of for like women. So it's about this couple. They need a house because of tragedy that happened. So they move into this mansion that Lawrence Fishburne gives them, but he's like, can't open the cellar door. Dialogue's terrible, writing's terrible. It was laughable bad at the end.
What was in the cellar door?
I'll tell you in a minute. In the end, I never expected for a pregnant woman to be the evil mastermind, but she was the evil mastermind because she wanted this house for her baby and her perfect family. So she was going to do whatever it took to keep this house. And so what was in the cellar door? It was your dark secrets that we keep with us. So it was the dirty deeds that she had to do.
Was it the door was with us inside of us all along?
Yes.
Wow.
You're so sexist. You didn't suspect the pregnant lady. It could have been a beach
never
ball.
thought the pregnant lady would be the villain. But yeah, it was pretty. I was like laughing at the end. I was like, this is stupid. So that was Solid Art. Then went on to The Quarry, which is from 2020. It was directed by Scott Teems. It has what's his name? General Zod from Man of Steel.
Michael Shannon.
Shannon?
Yeah, him. And then the other guy is remember the guy? He's like an FBI agent in The Last Mission Impossible who's chasing chasing Tom Cruise.
The guy that looks like Robert De Niro but isn't Robert De Niro.
Yeah, so it's that guy. So this movie was actually pretty good.
He's the brother in Silver Linings Playbook.
But I
Jared.
wouldn't have put on the.
Oh, really?
I would think more like Nick Offerman's estranged cousin.
Yeah.
And we're getting all kinds of weird stuff here.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so this movie was pretty good. It was about this guy. He's like a a preacher's driving down the road. He sees a guy like just dead on the ground, so he picks him up, puts him in the van, takes him, gets him some food, gets him some water. He's gonna take over this little church down on the Texas border by Mexico. So they're driving there. He's got like all this wine. He's just downing all the time. So they stop at the quarry right outside of town, and he's like, "I got to dry out." So and then all of a sudden he's trying to like convert the guy, and the guy just kills him.
Oh no.
Yeah. So the guy takes over for him. He gets like he buries him, and he goes to the town, and he's like, "I'm the new priest," and they're like, "Okay." And his performance is very weird because he's just like he's a quiet guy. He just barely talks. But anyway, he takes over as the priest, and he's got to do the priestly duties. So he's got to the six old people show up for church because that's probably all they get. So he just he doesn't know sermons or anything, so he starts just reading from the Bible, and this is people are just not used to this, so it starts growing the church because they just want to hear the Bible read. It was like it's like one of the best depictions of Christianity I've ever seen in a movie from like a secular movie. But anyway, he gets in trouble. He gets like entangled with the local drug pot dealers. They're not like drug dealers or anything, but they're just pot dealers. So the whole time he's like wrestling with, he's letting these guys take the blame for him for what he did, and he's kind of having this crisis of faith because he's kind of listening to what he's preaching now, and it was a really good movie. I will say the end. It kept it from being a great movie. It was kind of rushed. It felt kind of like confusing, so it didn't stick the landing. Or else I would totally recommend this to everyone. But the Quarry was from 2020, so I needed one more movie, and I'm like, who's another famous Scott guy? Oh yeah, Ridley Scott. So I watched American Gangster, which is Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe, and it's a lot of setup. The movie's like 2.5 hours long, and it's a lot of setup. It's pretty satisfying. The end. I do like Josh Brolin's in it, and he plays like this crooked cop. And I do like the tension that him and Russell Crowe go because they're trying to bring down Denzel Washington because he's got this very pure heroin that he brings in from Vietnam because he's got a hookup there. So it's a it's not my favorite crime movie or gangster movie of all time, but I thought the end was very satisfying. Just they end up making a deal with Denzel, and it's based on a true story. So this really happened, and they end up like catching like all these drug enforcement agents, just like because they were taking the evidence and just selling it on the street. So they were they brought down the book on all these guys. So it was a really impressive ending to the story.
I want Russell Crowe's jacket in that movie.
Yeah,
That
he's
leather
got a cool jacket. Yeah,
Cool jacket.
and Josh Brolin's got a cool Shelby Mustang, and it dies. It sadly dies in the movie, but yeah, there are a lot of people you notice in this movie that probably weren't as big yet. Like Idris Elba's in it, and yeah, a lot of different guys. I forget. There's some other guys, but I forgot. But that's all I did. That's all I watched. So we will find out the theme next time when I figure it out.
We will find out.
Oh, I'm almost done with Slow Horses season 3. I like it a lot better than season 2. They really should have got Tom Cruise to play the main part because this guy has an episode where he just runs like the whole time. So there's always seems to be an episode with him just running around. So Tom Cruise would have loved that. But yeah, I'm liking this season. I like the plot. And yeah, like I said last time, it kills people off that you wouldn't think it would kill off, but the stakes are high. All right. Last words, anything? What are we doing next time? I don't know yet, so we'll figure it out.
Indeed
we will.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Cool.
That's gonna do it. Like, subscribe, and notify yourself for even more good stuff, and we will see you next time. Bye.